I've just taken delivery of one Keter Manor Apex shed, and it's a 4x6 size, and it's got a box weight of 48 kilo. And credit to the two gents from Argos what walked it through the house to get it here. And there's the information and the specification. So we've got a bit of work on. I've got the old shed to demolish. So we now have a shed base. According to the box, we should have easy assembly. So I will let you know at the end of the video how easy I thought it were out of 10. So we've got the huge box open, and we'll see which panel comes out first. I think that might be the base, but we've got some destructions here, so I'll dig into them. So there we've got the base. I didn't quite do it like that. I did a more economical method with flags. Well, I've got the base down, and then we just need these pieces here. Just these four to put on each corner. So we've got that corner there, and there and there, and this just slots in. I think we might be putting a screw in there at some stage. The next stage is here. FC1, they're going to be 6 foot long. They should be 4 foot long. So I've had to take virtually every corner piece off and then refit them, so I don't particularly like that way. I'd have put these on first with hindsight. You can see these are right angled with a curve there, and you can put them on and then slot this on over the top just by lifting this up and wiggle it on and drive it home. So we're now instructed to turn over the floor panel, and using 12 of these S26B screws, screw that bit of trim on. I think we're going to have to make our own holes here at 10cm intervals. And these are the S26B screws. You get 125 of them, so we require 12 for this. So before we do this next step, we need to check that edging is driven home, so it needs to be as tight to this base as possible. So we'll just measure down 10cm, and we'll put our screw in there. You don't actually need to drill anything, and you don't even need a power tool. I can just push them in with a screwdriver. So that's the 8 screws in total as we look round it. Now I have made the decision to use the other 4 screws. I've just gone centre, and there's one centre there. It's not particularly clear on the destructions. It's looking like we can actually start building this then. So it's getting a bit more exciting as we assemble the outer panels. So it looks like it's these 4, and we've got to decide where we want the window. The top one in the stack had an arrow pointing up, so this end here, that's where that's going in the base, and you can tell on this obvious window panel it's much thicker, so that side goes to the top. So we're going to need these 4 corners, and we've got a panel in and put the smooth side in. Well, I've had to put the back in just to hold everything stable. Well, out of the same bag of screws, we should be putting 8 screws in each corner, and the instructions are trying to caution you against not fitting the panel fully in, otherwise it won't be square and true. And in practice this means take up the slack before inserting any screws. So that's 4 screws in on this side, and we're actually pushing, trying to get these screws in. I've actually pushed it off the base. Now there is a later stage where you put the screws in there. I'm wondering if it would be prudent just to deviate from the instructions. So after consulting the instructions, these screws are S26Bs, the same as what we've been using, and this is the next move after doing the sides. I think I'd make this the first screw I put in on each panel. There are 2 side pieces, and we've got one fitted just there, and they mark this side in, and they're reinforced so that steel can come out to ease fitting. I'll just push them down as far as they can go. And they just seem to rest on the base rather than go in that groove. I'll have to make a decision as to where to put the window. I've got the last panel fitted. Now, one thing I have found useful, just to drive them home, is my rubber hammer. I just gently tap it and invariably it will just move in place. You could use a regular hammer with a block of wood, but don't use too much force. It's only delicate. It can also be quite tricky to fit these corner pieces. You tend not to be able to start them, so what I do is I just fire them up in the air, just slide them gently down full length. It's quite rigid, that one, for some reason. Now here, again, corner piece needs to go down a bit lower, so what I find is a good tap with a mallet tends to persuade it firmly in place, and you can always tap this beading on sideways to keep it true. So that's the doorway installed, and it's quite a flimsy piece, not very thick there or at the side, so do be careful with that. You don't want to use too much force and put a crease in it or anything like that. These screws are not the easiest to start, unfortunately, but I've got a little tip for you. So place the screw there, and I've just gave that one a little tap with this hammer, and it's now bited in. But they could have been better. You can get better screws than that. I think better would be the use of a carpenter's awl or brad awl, as that rushes clean into the plastic. And we can just start the screw by hand and follow through the cordless. Now if you tighten them too much, you get little stress marks in the plastic, so try and avoid doing that. It looks like we've got more screws to put in, 4 along the length of the shed, in this case 6 foot, 2 at the front and 3 screws in the back. Well, we've got no guidance on spacings, but we've just got the shed rested on this piece of wood just to push everything up. So I think I'm going to go either side of the door for the front. And you have to be quite guarded against panels moving while you're doing this. You can see the little gap there what's formed, and things have to look good from the top, as this panel needs to be driven down as low as it can go. So I've put the handle of the mallet in the centre, and it's helping keep this panel down before I screw it. So we've now got 3 screws to put in at the back of the shed, and one thing I thought of is a door wedge, just to push that plastic up like so, and that door wedge has helped immensely. Now something what keeps happening, as I keep moving it off its 6 before base, it goes out of true, so I keep having to put this panel back in. Well, with that bit done, it leads us to the next. So we've got a few bits of plastic to find and assemble. Now so far I have managed on my own to do this. So here's a solo installation, and here's the bit where I'm going to take a guess because the instructions are not clear. My thinking is this bit here, that's going to accept the roof. Now we'll flip this one, and then that lip will go over the shed. Well, we've got part R1M, and we've unfolded it, and that's the crease what it folds in, and we need to have that in the sky. Well, that's every corner done. Now see, that one's a little bit out of square, so I'm just going to use my little persuader just to help square it up, and just battle with it until I'm happy. See, we've just pushed it off the end now, and back it goes. Yeah, a bit more work required. So now we use the S26 screw, the bag we've already got open. I'm going to put 2 screws in there. Now what I'd do, as we didn't have anything to screw into, that'd moved up that way is I'd just fully check everything before you put a single screw in. And that is all 8 done. Now the next stage is to flip this roof over. What we've got to do is put a load of screws in all the way around there. Now we'll just do the corners, and then if they're right we'll do the middles. So one thing I've noticed here, we only just got enough material there to screw in. If we go to the other side, so something needs to be done there. I'll have to undo the 2 screws and equalise that. Well, I'm looking at the diagram here, and we've got basically 4 screws to add in to what we've already done on either side. It doesn't really tell you where to put them in. So here's what I think. We've got a few options. If we put the screw in there, it's going all the way, it's long enough to go all the way through the roof, so that's not going to happen. If we put the screw in line with its friend, it's going to totally miss the roof altogether. So logically I think I'm going to go equicentre on there. So I'm going to put 2 screws in that panel, and also while I'm doing it, you can see it's moving away slightly. I'm just going to push that up to ensure it's held in the correct place. So I'm just going to repeat that, and it has held it in place versus the other side. And that should be every screw in the correct place and the little error corrected. So now it's time to raise the roof. So I've got the roof positioned. I managed to do that single-handedly. It was just about wide enough for me to grip either end. Get help if you need it, because it would have been easier with assistance. It's just loose fit, so I'll have to go around and clip that. Get that in on that board there. I started just running my finger in here at the front of the shed, just clipping it on. I'm just trying to go evenly as I work my way down the length of the shed. So when I get to the middle, go around, do the other side, etc. And just getting to the stage where I need to sort the back out now. We're a bit astray there, so I'll keep manipulating that. So once you get the inside looking something like, just push in here and the outside should fall into place. So it's the usual scenario of the side nearest the walls haunting me, as it has done all the way through. They do actually provide this tool, which I think it would have paid off to know about it earlier. This is for lapping and helping you fit the roof. Pay attention to the corners, as I couldn't quite see what was stopping this go, and it was this corner here. So I'm just going to go around and try and pull everything in true for the roof. There could be a little movement, yeah, a bit there. So this is the next stage. It looks like there's 4 screws in each panel, and they're the S26Bs, which are there. There were 125 of them, they've soon gone down. Well, before I start screwing in, as we're going to go in that line there, we just need to check that every panel is down reasonably. So the roof's properly aligned. If it isn't, we can't screw it down accurately. So I think we're good to go. That's all the screws in now. All 12 of them. So now we're onto the door. Looks like I've got a left and a right. Them little notches there, they denote something. Align holes in aluminium profiles with slits in door panel. So what we're fitting is the frame for the door. Now we've got the one with the 4 bolt holes there, and note the step. So we've got enough room to swing the door off. Now this is the hinge side. So you've got the 3 hinge holes, top and bottom. So I'll have a go at putting that in. something not right at the bottom. Putting up a bit of a fight. What we've got there. Now we're making it a bit more rigid with these UWF pieces of plastic. One top, one bottom. So now we're using the screw DS2B, sorry. 4 of them to secure them pieces. Strangely enough, we do actually have some of them left over, so we may be going back to them, I don't know. So these screws are going to be cutting in the steel. They've got their own little cutting head there. Well, looks like we've got more self-drilling screws to deal with. S10B times 16, so we've got to put 4 in each of the door frame. Well, we've got all the 4 screws either side in the door frame, and the next move is 2 screws, top and bottom, and it's them, the S13B, just there and there. Well, on to the door. So we've got 3 of these plasticky things to put in, and it says give them a good push in. So we've got all 3 of them in, 1 for each hinge and another one for the lock. So we'll give it a good push in. Now you have to make a decision whether you go either 1 up or 1 down. I've just made it 1 up there, and I'm going to stick with that, and hopefully that won't burn me. And the same goes for the bolt side. Now it's time for the door. So it looks like we've got the hinge side steel work there, and the bolt side steel work. Yeah, that's the bolt, that's the hinge. Well, we've got the outer ironmongery on, and these look to be in alignment with the plastic parts. Now these parts are what's known as ULDF, these end caps what go top and bottom. Now this is the external side, and we've got some screw holes on the back of each one. Well, I'll put the corner screws in, and we'll also put 4 in the middle, measured in thirds. So now we'll give the door a flip as per the instructions, and now it's time to tackle the ironmongery, all with S13B screws, both the bolt and the hinges. The good news is, before we start, we do get some pilot holes, both for the hinges and a couple for the bolt. Well, that's the hinges all fitted, and the throw bolt. So we've got the reciprocal part of the bolt to fit to the shed, like so. And now it's time to hang the door using the S13B screws we've been using. So I put the door on, and I've bolted it in place, so that's coming useful. Now it did occur to me that I could have effectively flipped this door panel so we wouldn't have the lines in alignment. I did have a moment where I did wonder if I had done that, but fortunately I haven't. I've put 1 screw in each, and I've just adjusted them slightly. But I'm reasonably happy at that. Just a slight rub on the bottom. So I think I'll slacken that screw off, see if I can move the door that way before I put the rest of the screws in. Well, I'm reasonably happy with that for a fit. So we've got these apex pieces, I think I'm going to call them. They just push in and then secure them with the S26B screws. And then we've got an air vent to click in at the front and at the back. So now we're on the window, and I think this is the outside. And you can peel this off, but I think I'm just going to leave it for that tinted effect. So I've got a bag of screws, SC15, 8 of. Well, I've inserted the window outside in, and there's a little indentation there. It is actually marked down. That indentation goes in there, and that's the down markings. So we'll just screw it up with its counterpart. That's the window done. Got all the screws in. I think it was a bit tricky because I had to keep bobbing in and out. So there's just one optional step, and that's screw the base in using the 4 screws with roll plugs. And the good news is I have actually assembled it myself. So we'll erase that. And here's the finished product. Now I'm going to give it 8 out of 10 this, for ease of assembly. I'm going to mark it down because things keep popping out of square. The instructions I would have said put these screws in first and then that'll secure the panel. Now the other markdown is for not implementing this tool sooner. As I were assembling the sides, they kept popping out, and it would have been a lot easier to use this tool if I had been aware of it. So many thanks for watching. I'm going to close the door on this shed. And why not subscribe to learn of more shed assembly possibilities.